It was a Sunday morning in Willow Creek, Colorado, when chaos rolled into town on 7 polished black SUVs, each sporting a smug HOA logo like a badge of bureaucratic honor. The air was crisp, the kind that bites your knuckles, and Clara Hensley was sanding down her porch rail, her hand steady despite the hum of a drone overhead. She squinted into the sun, spotting the quadcopter's glinting camera hovering like a nosy neighbor with wings. "Really?" she muttered, brushing sawdust off her jeans. She knew who sent it. The Willow Creek HOA Homeowners Overbearing Alliance, as the locals sneered, had been itching to boot her off her late father's land ever since he passed 5 years ago. They'd thrown every rule in the book at her, from insufficient shingle gloss to unapproved hedge density. Clara didn't need a law degree to know what they really wanted. Her gone, her cabin razed, and the land sold to some developer dreaming of condos and overpriced lattes. 10 minutes later, the SUVs pulled up, fanning out in a practiced arc that screamed rehearsal. Out stepped Victor Langston, a man who looked like he'd been born clutching a clipboard and a superiority complex. His shoes didn't even crunch on the gravel they glided, like he'd trained them to avoid dirt. "Ms. Hensley," he called, flipping open a leather folder with the flair of a game show host. "We're here to address multiple violations requiring your immediate removal from this property." Clara leaned against the porch post, arms crossed, her jaw tight enough to crack walnuts. "You brought a whole convoy for that? What? You think I've got a cannon in the shed?" Victor didn't blink. "You've ignored our notices, VY-OLAT Code 12-4C, and refused mediation. As of today, you're EVY Ted." Clara's brain churned, plotting the sharpest way to tell him where to shove his codes without cussing in front of the neighbors. Then she heard Ida low rumble, like thunder rolling up the hill. One engine, then two, then a dozen. She'd almost forgotten, what with the legal threats piling up, that today wasn't just another HOA skirmish. It was the annual Hensley family cookout, held every year to honor her dad's birthday. No one VY Tez needed a Hensley's had a knack for showing up when trouble brewed. First to arrive was Cousin Nate, his beat-up Ford pickup held together by duct tape and spite. Behind him came Uncle Ray's Jeep, caked in mud and sprouting antennas like a conspiracy theorist's dream. Aunt Maggie's van followed, plastered with protest signs from her latest cause. A parade of vehicles, half hot rod, half livestock, trailers swarmed the yard, engines growling. Victor glanced back, his frown deepening, like he'd just seen someone wear flip-flops to a board meeting. "What is this?" he stammered as the Hensleys poured out, tattooed, grinning, and built like they could bench press a tractor. Nate climbed onto the porch, handing Clara a mason jar of lemonade. "Didn't know the HOA was playing FBI today," he said with a wink. Maggie waved a bowl. "Brought coleslaw and a lawyer." Victor's eyes widened. "A lawyer?" Clara nodded toward Cousin Elise, who was unwrapping a tray of cornbread in a Yale Law hoodie and sneakers. "Passed the bar in 4 states. She's feisty." As if on cue, Daisy the goat trotted out, sporting a kid-sized tactical vest someone had clearly had too much fun with. She locked eyes with Victor's lawyer, charged, and chomped his briefcase. The man yelped. Daisy burped. Clara sipped her lemonade, hiding a smirk. Victor's polish cracked. "You can't scare us with animals and antics." Clara's smile was slow, venomous. "Victor, this ain't a show. This is Sunday at the Hensley place. You just parked your fancy cars in a hornet's nest." Behind her, someone fired up a grill. A truck blared music bluegrass with a rebellious edge, like it was daring you to fight. The wind carried mesquite, smoke, and defiance. Victor's team fidgeted. One HOA lackey tripped over a lawn chair and vanished into the grass. "Turn around," Clara said, her voice low, "while your tires still roll." Victor hesitated, waiting for a hidden camera to reveal this was a prank. Then he nodded stiffly, and the SUVs slunk away, reversing like a snake retreating to its den. Clara watched them go, muttering, "I'm counting on you coming back." She knew this was just the opening shot. By Monday, the HOA was back with a vengeance. Men in khakis marched up with clipboards, high VYS vests, and a portable printer, issuing 12 new violations, including excessive porch charm and improper gnome aesthetics. Clara took the papers with the same calm she'd used to scrape roadkill off the highway quick. No fuss, gloves on. The citations were absurd. One claimed her lawn was 2 VY Brandt. Another fussed about a wind chime her dad hung in '89. She might have laughed, but she knew the game. Paper built leverage, leverage built lawyers. Except Clara had something better her family, in a batch of Aunt Maggie's diplomatic brownies, which smelled strong enough to knock Daisy out cold. And that goat once ate a firecracker. They took the brownies to the HOA's community mixer, a thinly veiled intimidation tactic held in the town hall's beige purgatory. Victor, in his board huddled by the punch bowl, eyeing Clara like she was a raccoon in their attic. She set the basket down with exaggerated care. "Just being neighborly," she said, syrup sweet. Victor squinted. "Trying to bribe us?" Clara shrugged. "Could have brought Daisy instead." One by one, the board took brownies, chewing cautiously. Victor nibbled half and passed the rest to his assistant, who bolted to the bathroom and didn't reappear. 15 minutes later, the meeting imploded. A young board member stood up, declaring the HOA should become a pottery collective. Another sobbed about her failed dream of being a stunt driver. Two seniors led an interpretive dance, claiming it was their Ibiza summer reborn. Victor tried to restore order, but his lawyer was busy ranting about sidewalks being capitalist shackles. Clara and Maggie slipped out before someone grabbed a kazoo. By evening, the mixer meltdown was town legend, fueled by Cousin Tyler's drone footage, which he'd hacked to shadow the HOA's own drones. Victor's panicked face, trapped in a gratitude circle, was now a VY Ral meme. But Clara didn't celebrate. She knew the HOA would hit harder. Sure enough, a 14-foot fence sprang up along her road, complete with guards, golf carts, and legal warnings every 10 yards. It was illegal, blocking public access, but Victor had pulled strings for an emergency permit. That night, the Hensleys gathered around a fire pit, roasting hot dogs and scheming. Uncle Ray, fingers greasy with motor oil, suggested jamming the HOA's drones. Elise, buried in law books, found a gem, a 1930s town bylaw protecting structures over 75 years old with historical use. Maggie perked up. "Your dad used to talk about your grandpa hiding moonshine under the barn. Called this place the Stash Shack during Prohibition." The family tore into the barn like kids on Christmas. Dust flew, boards groaned, and there, beneath a trapdoor, lay a brick-lined vault with empty bottles, a rusted still, and a faded sign. Hensley Spirits, St. 1922. They had proof. By dawn, Clara and Elise filed for historical preservation status. The paperwork so tight it could choke a paralegal. Victor's demolition plans were frozen pending re-VYEW. When he got the news, he reportedly hurled a stapler at a plant. The town clerk was still giggling about it hours later. But the war wasn't over. Clara found her edge in her dad's old shed, where a dusty tackle box held letters he'd written before he died. One, dated a week before his passing, began, "If you're reading this, you're knee-deep in HOA nonsense. Knew they'd come for you." His words were part diary, part battle plan, laced with his trademark wit. "Any group whining about my fence height while eyeing my water rights can kiss my stars and stripes backside." He'd predicted the HOA's greed, spurred by rumors of resort developers circling Willow Creek. "You don't choose every fight," he wrote, "but you choose how to swing." Clara read until the shed's shadows shifted, her dad's voice echoing in every line. This wasn't just about SAVYing the cabinet, it was about guarding the stubborn, honest life he'd lived. Back at the house, the Hensleys were a whirlwind. Nate rigged a wind-powered radio tower, in case the feds jam us. Maggie planned a protest bake sale. Tyler coded a website, HOA Hades, plastering Victor's face on cartoon tyrants. Grandma Faye grabbed a megaphone, yelling at squirrels she swore were HOA spies. Elise found a 1974 charter amendment suggesting the HOA had no jurisdiction over Clara's land, grandfathered into the original township. They needed proof, the old records, not Google. Enter Old Man Carver, the town historian, leave EYing in a trailer stuffed with files and jars labeled Willow, Dust 79. He'd never digitized, claiming computers were ghost boxes. After bartering jerky and a promise to keep his VHS infomercial secret, Carver unearthed a 1934 map marking Clara's land as Hensley Homestead, sovereign parcel, a rare term implying ownership beyond municipal rules. The Hensleys were electric, the map their Excalibur. Elise confirmed its legal weight predated Willow Creek's incorporation. If they could sway the town council, the HOA's case would collapse. Problem was, 3 council members were HOA loyalists, including Councilwoman Perry, who'd once nixed a park bench because public seating breeds laziness. Clara's plan: flood the next council meeting with townsfolk, maps, and muffins. Grandma Fay volunteered as security, boasting, "My stare can curdle cream." No one argued. The meeting was a circus. The hall overflowed, folks lining walls, murmuring like a storm about to break. Clara stood up front, map unrolled, her dad's letters in hand. Daisy leashed for moral support or chaos, depending. Victor sat smug, freshly shaved, until Clara read her dad's words aloud. If they come for this land, tell him it was forged in grit and guarded by folks too tough to quit. The crowd roared. Even Perry twitched a smile. Victor objected, citing zoning loopholes, but Elise countered with ordinances and a zinger. If this land isn't sovereign, neither's the town hall. Want the HOA picking your curtains next? The room fell silent. The council chair promised a deliberation, but Clara felt the tide turning. By Thursday, Willow Creek was a battleground of barbecues and rebellion. Signs sprouted. Victor Langston hates peach cobbler. The church marquee read, "Thou shalt not steal thy neighbor's land, HOA." Tyler's drone jammer, cobbled from radios and a toaster, downed an HOA drone, which Daisy chased off with a vengeance. Townsfolk picked sides. A baker slipped Clara's zucchini with a note, "For grit." The mechanic refused to fix the HOA's SUVs. Folks set up lawn chairs on Clara's yard, popping popcorn like it was a tailgate. A bouncy castle appeared. What started as a land dispute was now a movement. The Hensleys, its reluctant generals. Victor fought back with Operation Reclaim, slipping fear-mongering flyers under doors about anarchist uprisings. Clara read one at dinner, sparking laughter so hard Uncle Ray snorted soup. Then came Victor's hired muscle, Guardian Horizon, a wannabe SWAT team in HOA-branded vests, patrolling like they expected Clara to launch a coup. On Friday, they set up an info tent near her cabin with cookies, water, and pamphlets warning of goat-fueled chaos. Maggie and Tyler countered with a stand offering chili, crafts, and Daisy in a bow tie. The crowd flocked, the goat guardians trending by noon. Tension simmered. Clara barely slept, her nerves frayed. The family bickered. Nate wanted a moat. Maggie pushed crowdfunding. Grandma Fay nearly brained a mailman, mistaking him for a spy. They needed a win. That night, Tyler showed Clara drone footage of Victor's guards stashing boxes in a storage unit. Elise gasped. "That's financial records, not just papers." Clara's eyes narrowed. "He's hiding something." They hatched a risky plan. While the town played cornhole in Clara's yard, she, Tyler, and Nate snuck to the facility. Tyler faked a badge, Nate brought bolt cutters, and Clara distracted the guard by posing as a tourist lost in a haunted warehouse. Inside, they found boxes labeled developer deals and private budget. Photos revealed Victor was funneling HOA funds to a shell company buying land for a resort that had bulldozed Clara's cabin for a spa and golf carts. The gall was almost admirable. They snapped pictures, left no trace, and leaked the EVY Denke to the Willow Creek Herald. The editor, who loathed Victor's newsletters, ran a front-page expose. HOA scandal rocks town. News crews swarmed, tripods crowding lemonade stands. Clara became a folk hero, her yard a mix of protest and fair. Victor's press conference flopped. Protesters chanted, glitter spiked his hair, and Daisy nibbled his pants on live TV. But Clara stayed wary. Victor had cash, lawyers, and a court date. The storm was brewing. The courthouse, a drab box next to a diner sere VYing pancakes and side-eye, wasn't built for drama. But today it was packed, folks spilling into hallways with lawn chairs and sweet tea. Clara sat at the defense table, Elise and Nate beside her, Daisy outside with Grandma Faye, who'd been banned for threatening to hogtie Victor's lawyer with her scarf. Victor looked like a man who'd bet on the wrong horse, his Denver attorney whispering frantically. Judge Amos Reed, dragged from retirement, called order. Clara's pulse hammered, but she sat tall, her dad's blood in her veins. Victor's team opened with charts, spreadsheets, and a model of Willow Creek, complete with tiny SUVs and a creepily accurate Daisy. It was slick but soulless. Elise struck back, unveiling the storage unit documents Victor's shell companies, siphoned funds, developer ties. She sliced through his lies like a hot knife. Victor claimed the EVY Denke was stolen, forged, irrelevant. The judge let it stand, noting it was already in every local paper. Then came the knockout. Victor's ex-wife, Lila Langston. She strode in, sharp suit, sharper gaze, and swore in with glee. Lila detailed Victor's financial schemes, his hidden accounts, and a Nevada fraud case that barred him from board roles. The room exploded. Judge Reed's gavel slipped. Victor's lawyer tried pivoting to Clara's non-compliant cabin, but it was like debating curtains in a house fire. Clara took the stand, no props, just truth. She spoke of her dad, Willow Creek's sheriff, who'd shielded the town from its own worst impulses. She read his letter. "This land's our roots, carved before their rules." She didn't shout, but her words landed like boulders. "I'm fighting because someone decided their greed trumps our history. When they win, we lose what it means to belong." The room stilled, her words sinking deep. After a recess, Judge Reed ruled. Clara won. The cabin was a historical site. Victor was fined and ousted. The HOA suspended pending re-VYEW. The crowd roared. Nate high-fived half the room. Tyler streamed Grandma Faye doing a VY Tory jig. Victor, escorted out for a fraud probe, paused by Clara. "Think you've won," he hissed. She didn't flinch. "I kept what's mine." Daisy bit his briefcase for good measure. By dusk, the courthouse steps were a festival, grills, cider, a band nobody in VY Ted, but everyone cheered. Clara watched, her heart lighter than it had been in years. She hadn't just saved the cabin. She'd re-VY vet a town, a legacy, a way of life. Weeks later, the hoopla faded. Elise opened a law office in an old grain store. Tyler's drone channel hit 1,000,000 VYUs. Nate's construction gigs booked solid. Maggie taught Active VY STS to knit protest scarves. Clara painted her porch swing, read her dad's letters, and dipped her feet in the creek, savoring the quiet. One evening, a reporter, Eli, sat with her, offering chamomile tea. He wanted to write a book, not just the trial, but the town, the fight, the Hensleys. "Make it messy," Clara said. It wasn't neat. He smiled. "Messy's real." A week later, a lost letter from her dad arrived, held up by postal red tape. "If you're reading this, you're still standing," it began. "You fought, you won, not clean, but right. Protect the land, the people, the stories. That's the real legacy. Now sit on that swing and let the world spin." Clara did. Mug in hand, Daisy at her feet, she faced tomorrow with grit, grace, and a goat. Willow Creek was hers always would be. So what do you think? Was Clara's fight just about land, or was it a stand against something bigger? Should towns like Willow Creek bow to developers, or hold fast to their roots? And let's get real, were those brownies a genius move, or a step too far? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button if you're Team Daisy, and subscribe for more stories that'll make you cheer, jeer, and maybe tear up a little. Let's keep this fight alive in the comments.